Next, I'd like to invite up Leslie, who I see sitting in the back of the room. Leslie Bartron-Lewis is with a CDFI, and I'm going to let Leslie talk a little bit about what a CDFI is, if you're not already familiar. She is the Capital Access Manager at Carolina Community Impact, and I recently met Leslie in person in Bertie County, North Carolina. If you guys know where that is, that's sort of not too far from here, fairly rural, beautiful country, lots of farmland. And there we were at a conference for the Bertie Small Business Network and speaking about a lot of those resources that are available there as well. So that's how I know Leslie. And it turns out that Leslie is also a facilitator for the Real Entrepreneurship Program. And if you've ever worked with the Sequoia Fund, you might know Russ Siegel. So the Real Entrepreneurship Access to Capital Program is housed at the Sequoia Fund. We work with them a great deal. Access to capital is probably the number one request that we get from our clients. A little bit more about Leslie. So we talked about Real. She has a BS in business from University of Phoenix, and she just, I think the day we met, right? Just the day after, she just graduated from Georgetown University with her MS in finance. So congratulations on that. And I will leave you in Leslie's great hands. Thank you.
Goodness. Thank you so much. What an honor. Thank you. I tell you, I had to, when we were talking to Jess, it was 2 days after graduation. She asked me to come up to the podium to introduce myself to everybody. And Jess, it was the moderator. And the moderator looked at me and she said, "Can you introduce yourself?" I said, "Yes." What do I say? I was extremely tired, extremely overwhelmed, and it has been a very challenging 2 years, but eventually I was coached through how to introduce myself. So yes, and now I'm here. And it is an incredible honor to be here. Thank you so much. Thank you to the National Center for American Indian Enterprise Development for hosting today. And we're going to have about an hour and 15 minutes of fun to get everybody going this morning. Everybody online, it may be a little quiet for you because the exercise is in person, but I just want to go through a couple introductions real quick, and then we'll go through a nice little exercise for business planning, and then we'll talk a little bit about access to capital, which I could talk for hours and hours and hours about access to capital, but today, I'll try to give you a high level if we have time, but I also have some handouts that you can take with you to help explain what we were going to talk about today. There's me. Yes, I'm still wearing the same hoops, but like you, Nikki, I am an artist and a crafter. I wish I had worn some of my earrings, but the hoops are where I am today. So, but thank you for the nice introduction, Jess. So, I have a background in business, marketing, and business development. It's economic development. This is now my life's work. We primarily at Carolina Community Impact work with folks in underserved communities, underfueled communities, and work with entrepreneurs to give them affordable access to capital and at excellent terms. So we fill that gap between the traditional bank and predatory lending. So we do not offer grants, but we offer affordable lending to entrepreneurs and small businesses throughout the state of North Carolina. And I do have some information for a CDFI that does underwrite here, and they're based out of Durham. It's called the Institute, and they do underwrite here in Virginia, so I'll have more information for that resource as well towards the end. So today, we have a little bit of time that we'll be spending together this morning. I'll give you a little bit of an introduction to Carolina Community Impact. You may hear me refer to that as CCI throughout the morning. We are a non-traditional funding source. We're considered alternative lending. And we are a mission-based lender, nonprofit organization. And of course, we're going to open up with the real exercise, the banker and the entrepreneur exercise. And that'll help you with business planning, because as Jess was talking about earlier, access to capital is one of the main components that are important to starting, growing, scaling, and sustaining your business. Not just access to capital, but also making sure that you are not underfunded. A lot of startups, that's one of the issues that they face the most, is not just access to capital, but that they're also underfunded as well. So with the business planning exercise, we're going to talk about a couple things, different perspectives for sure. So we're going to take the perspective of an entrepreneur, and we're going to take the perspective of a banker, or in my case, a community development financial institution. So, but we'll talk about that here in a minute. And to close up, we will talk about the 6 C's of credit. So you've probably heard of the 5 C's of credit. I like to talk to the 6 C's because credit at the very end is typically kind of meshed in with character. And as a mission-driven CDFI, we don't think that credit is the ultimate display of a person's character. So I pull that credit out of the first C and out of character, and it is the 6th C. So real quick, Carolina Community Impact. Again, CCI is a nonprofit organization. We are a community development financial institution, and our mission is to promote economic and community development by providing financial programs and services for low to moderate income clients. We have a nice QR code here that you can scan with your phones. Everybody that's online, hopefully, I don't know if you can see the QR code here, but I'll make sure that Jess has our information if you need to get in touch with us. But at CCI, again, we engage with entrepreneurs and small business owners in 3 ways. We are actually a small business lender, primarily a small business lender. We offer personal finance for small business owners, and we have business coaching and advising for our borrowers. And of course, we work very closely with, in North Carolina, we have a small business center network that's very close to the small business development centers here in Virginia. So the Small Business Center Network and the SBTDC in North Carolina. So we do work very closely with our partners throughout the state for pre-loan coaching and advising, and of course we assist our borrowers with business coaching and advising because we want you to succeed. So real quickly, a community development financial institution. Here are a few that we have throughout the state of North Carolina. We are certified by the Treasury, and we also receive support from the Community Development, the CDFI Fund. Again, we are Carolina Community Impact, the Institute, ICAP. They are a CDFI that does underwrite here in Virginia, and again, they're based out of Durham, North Carolina. But our information will be in the packets that you'll receive at the very end. And of course, here's some information on ICAP. Jess, I will make sure that that's in the handout as well. All right, so let's get started. So everybody should have a big giant Post-it note on your table. One half of the room here is entrepreneurs, I believe. Bankers, yes. So we have bankers on this end, and we have entrepreneurs on this end. So the exercise is designed to build knowledge of business plans and planning. So we may still have folks that have gone through this exercise. We may have seasoned business owners who have put together business plans before. And we also may have entrepreneurs here who are looking to start their for-profit or nonprofit business. So the purpose of this exercise is to, again, build knowledge of business plans and planning, to understand different ways entrepreneurs and funders use business plans. which is always important. If it's not you that's using the business plan, you can help somebody else, another entrepreneur, another small business owner, use these concepts to help them with their planning and to help them start, grow, or sustain their business. So if you've already gone through this exercise, if you're already a seasoned business owner, this is great, I think, to go through to not just get moving this morning, but to also network with your tables and also to just gain a bit different perspective on how business plans are viewed. Of course, this will help you synergize interactions between entrepreneurs and funders and develop problem-solving, cooperation, leadership, and presentation skills. Because after we're done with the exercise, I will ask for 1 or 2 volunteers to stand up and present what you have come up with. So, all right, so let me get out my handy-dandy instructions here. Typically, this takes about 90 minutes. We are going to condense this in about 45. Jess, I'm going to try to keep track of my time, yeah? Yep. And so, again, everybody here, each table should have a handout with instructions. You should have a big Post-it and a marker or a pen. But if everybody could read through the instructions in the handout that was given to you, and again, if you are a banker, if you are familiar with 5 C's of credit, with underwriting, with obtaining a loan, try to act like a banker. Yes, we want your perspective on this business plan. If you are a seasoned business owner and you're on the entrepreneur side, remember how you were when you first started your business. It was dreaming, very creative, and of course, conquering the world, and anything can happen. So, or you can make anything happen. The world is your oyster. So as an entrepreneur, if you are a seasoned business owner, try to put yourself back in that space when you're working through this exercise. Okay. So, and again, we typically give everybody about 30 minutes, but we'll work through this in about 20, so we can get to the 6 C's of credit. So, all right, so everybody here, if you have any questions, we will be walking around. I'll be walking around. I may ask Charmaine to help me. I may. So if I need help, we'll just be walking around answering any questions. But go through the handout again, and essentially you're going to be writing a business plan, different sections from either a banker's perspective or an entrepreneur's perspective. And after about 20 minutes, we will, again, ask for a couple volunteers and see if they can present their business plan that they have on their big Post-it sheet. And we'll see if we can talk about the differences, see what they are, and then have a discussion about entrepreneurs and bankers' business plans. Yeah? Okay, yes. And of course, I'll be walking around if anybody has any questions, yes. Start with the entrepreneur side. So does anyone want to volunteer too? You go ahead and go? All right. Come on up. All right, so everybody, we're going to be presenting the entrepreneur side. Yes.
All right. Well, first of all, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Brad Locklear. This is Liv, and we're with ABC Tribal, LLC. We are an IT consulting company. Our business structure will be manager-managed. Liv and I are the owners, 50-50 owners. We're both putting up $250K, so we have collateral of $500,000. And we're seeking a $1 million line of credit. This line of credit will allow us to pursue our 8A certification and governmental contracts. Our business structure is Mr. Kevin Hamer will be our Chief Executive Officer. Ms. Sharon Hamer will be our Chief operating officer, and Mr. Matt Roller will be our chief financial officer. All of them have well over 20 years of experience in their respective fields of IT, and Mr. Matt in banking and finance. But what we'll be offering is a customer relations management system. Okay, for governmental agencies, again, we'll be seeking 8A certification after year 2. And hope to secure more contracts in that way. But again, we have to show that we do have that line of credit for operating and bonding experiences. We'll be developing our past year's performances in order to get that certification. First year, we anticipate maybe some small subcontracting revenues of about $50,000, but we hope within year 2 to start acquiring about $1 million in revenue. So minus expenses, we'll be looking at paying back this line of credit. But the general use of our credit will just be for general business purposes, growth, maybe a business development manager in year 1. And then obviously we have to start ramping up for contracting with developers if we secure any contracts for those CRM platforms. So that is our general pitch. Thank you.
And I like how you went through your milestones too. That was amazing. And everybody take note of the entrepreneur's business plan, what you are seeing and what they are putting down on the piece of paper. So just take note of what they're doing. And does anybody else from the entrepreneur side want to stand up? And it's okay if you don't. You want to? Okay. Here you go. Mr. Ward? Yes. Absolutely. You want me to hold this?
Yeah, thanks. Hi there. Good morning. I'm Ward Valentine. I'm with the Flatwater Group. Can you guys hear me okay? All right, great. And so a lot of folks know Ho Chunk Industries. We've been around for a long, long time and based out of Omaha, Nebraska, Wisconsin. And oddly enough, I was been based here in Norfolk, Virginia Beach, so I know our economy very well. And so those are my contacts to the Native American industry. We decided that we would be a construction management entrepreneur business based on Mr. Eric Cheek's exposure to the industry. He's had 20 plus years, and so we thought one of the first things we would do in order to approach the bankers on this side of the room, very intimidating over there sitting on their piles of money, we're going to put together a very, very strong pro forma for you guys to see the experiences that we have in the industry and the strengths that we bring to the table in order to convince the bankers that we have both financial stability, we also understand the marketplace, and the team that Eric and I have put together is IT professionals, folks from the ag business, again, with strong Native American roots, and we're going to knock your socks off and convince you that we bring to the table the team that has the experience, the manpower, and the guts to bring our program to the end. So that's how we're going to knock your shoes off in our narrative. Is that good enough? Does that suffice? Is that okay?
Awesome.
Awesome.
Thank you. All right, so now on the banker side, do we have anybody that wants to present? And I know I'm not getting a lot of eye contact right now, so. Thank you so much.
I told them I'm not scared, so I'll do it. The first thing, the gentleman was just speaking, I forgot your name, I'm sorry, you were just speaking. One of the things that we as bankers would like to see is, what are you good at? What do you come to the table with your experience? What are you good at? And how good are you? And convince us that you are the people, when there's 100 other people in line, we're going to give the money to you and not to the other people in line. So, but the other things that we'll be looking for in an application, of course, is the purpose of the loan. Why are you asking for a loan? We'll be looking for tax returns, verification of income, of course, a business plan or a pro forma, as was already mentioned, that includes an executive summary, a narrative, the people or persons that will be served by your business Who will be your employees? What type of marketing analysis will you bring of the community that you're serving, the brand? What is your plan to implement your business? What is the time frame for that? Also, financial plan, financial reports, expenses and income, an income statement, projection of income over the next 3 years, credit history, also debt to income ratio, what will that be? Also, the experience. So what is the experience of your tribal council, your management team, and your corporate structure? And also, some things that as tribes we would have to consider as bankers is risk, and what are you going to bring as collateral? If you have, many tribes have land in trust, and so you can't borrow against that. So what do you have that could be used as collateral? And of course, maybe tribes may have some fee lands that they can use as collateral to borrow against the loan. So those are some things that we thought were important as bankers in order to loan money. Thanks.
Thank you. That was very thorough. Absolutely. Thank you so much. And are there any others that would like to present? Yeah, you want to come on? Of course, absolutely, yes, yes. Oh, and you need the microphone.
Thank you. Hello, Susan Jenkins, and I'm with We Lend. We love to lend to everybody. We look at lending differently. We like to see it broken down in 3 categories. What is your purpose? What is your past performance? And what is your execution? Purpose, it's so important. What is your business solving? What are you servicing? And is it relevant? Don't we all remember a Blockbuster video? Does it exist anymore? No. So whatever business you're creating, it has to be something that's going to be relevant for longevity. Is it just for a 5-year, 10-year, 15-year, 20-year? The investment as a bank we're putting into it, we definitely want to partner with you and see that return. What are you servicing? We all know that our service equates to our income. If I need to dig a ditch, I get someone with a shovel. If I need a tumor removed from my brain, of course, that's going to be more commensurate with my income. So what is your business plan, and what type of problem are you solving? We also want to know, is your business relevant? We did talk about that. What about buggy whips? Do we have those anymore? It used to be very popular to sell buggy whips, but we don't need those anymore. Past performance. We understand a lot of small entrepreneur businesses lack the past performance. A lot of contractors, government procurement officers, they don't want to give you that past performance because you don't have it yet. So they don't want to give you the opportunity for the contracting. So how do you get around that? You want to make sure that you're building people within your industry or within your company that do have that past performance that can lead to that understanding when you're working with those procurement officers. And that comes into your managers and their backgrounds. Experience is so important. Just because you're a CEO in one industry doesn't mean you're going to be a CEO in another industry. Michael Jordan was fantastic at basketball. Do you guys remember he did baseball? Yeah? How'd that work out for him? It didn't equate over. Just because you're a CEO and you're good in one doesn't mean you're going to be good in the other. So whoever you have in your circle, you're going to be the average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. So remember that. So whoever's in your circle, that's going to help and bring to your past performance. Education. Now, education is important, but it's not looking for a pedigree from an Ivy League. I want to see education in the actual field. The people, do they have years of experience? I think a lot of times people love, you have theory and you have application. Theory is school and college. Application is your job. Mike Tyson said, everyone has a plan till you get punched in the face. So you have to learn how do you withstand that? How do you withstand failure? How do you overcome it? You need to have those executable and background information. Do they have knowledge and service and solving problems? That is so important. Any business that you're in, that's what you're doing. You're solving problems. And do you have executable plans? And that's where we come at execution. Do you have a mission statement? I want to know what your core values are. What is your rally cry for your business? All the managers, all your employees, do they know what the purpose is of your company? Are they all going to jointly rally behind your idea and your vision to help it come apart? Are they going to be really bought into your company? What is your business plan? That is so important. How are you going to execute all these different ideas? We want to see your business plan. Credit worthiness. Now, we do understand that character is sometimes more important than creditworthiness. Maybe you're wanting to start your business because of no fault to your own, you were let go of your job. And because you were let go of your job, you weren't able to pay some of the bills, so you got behind. But now you want to create your own business where you're no longer to be in control at the whims of some other corporation. So we'll look at very specifically what was the reason why you have a low credit score, and we want to look at your worthiness and your character. And I hope you join us at We Lend.
Here, thank you. And that was Susan?
Yes, Susan.
Yes, Susan. Do you want to work with CCI here? So we've heard some really good plans from the banker side, from the entrepreneur side, and I love these exercises because it also brings experts in the room up front, and we also get a chance to hear from each other and to learn from each other, and I'm learning just as much from you all as we will learn, or if by me presenting today, I learn from everybody here in the audience. So thank you so much for going through this exercise. And, one thing that I noticed with the entrepreneur side, we did have a lot of knowledge that was listed on the Post-it notes as far as, okay, I need a plan, collateral. I need to show, how I'm going to, to use Susan's execution, right? How am I going to execute this? And from the banker side, I did see sometimes, it was like a record playing when I'm discussing a loan package or when I'm working with a new client. It can be overwhelming when I hear it from somebody else. I need to see a business plan. I need to see your tax returns. I need to see your personal financial statement, your cash flow projections. I need to see your partner's information, and we need to see your financials. And, so going down the list, when I hear it as a lender, I felt overwhelmed, right? But that's what we sound like sometimes. So you can see from a banker's perspective, what we need to see and how we mitigate that risk and how we evaluate that partnership, how sometimes it can sound overwhelming. But as an entrepreneur, you do know, hey, I'm filling this gap. I need to execute on this. And, sometimes with the entrepreneur from their perspective, it can be a little bit of a dreamer type. You have your idea. You're gonna solve this problem. You're filling that gap, and it's a great idea. You're gonna do it, but sometimes that how gets a little mixed up in all of the information that we need to put together. And again, everybody that we have in the room that's from the SBDC, any community development folks that we have in the room, and coaches and mentors, you all are definitely crucial to the process in this banker and entrepreneurship relationship. But also learning the perspective from both can, again, help with those synergies in that partnership. So does anybody have any comments about the exercise, or would you like to ask me a question, or does anybody have anything they'd like to say about the exercise? And it's okay if you don't. Oh, yes.
Just a comment, but when we talk about structure of your business, being a former procurement officer, we always look at that. I heard somebody say 50-50. We always look at that 51%, 49%. So just to point that out.
Absolutely. Especially when, as a, absolutely, yes. So whether that be women-owned business, Native American-owned business, so that 50-50. And sometimes, oh gosh, I'm sure we'll talk more about it today. Yes, I could go on and on about formations and everything else, but we do need to get to, after we get through this exercise, 6 C's of credit. So I do want to go through that really quickly with everybody. And again, thank you for the for the participation. And of course, I did have a little business plan outline that I put on everybody's table. I think I was a little bit short with the handouts, but I can forward that to you if you do need one via email. So I think we have a pretty good idea, especially listening to the banker's business plan, what a banker would look for. And from a lender perspective, specifically from a CDFI, we do look through a little bit of a different lens when we consider a loan application and or walking alongside the entrepreneur on their journey. So again, you're probably very used to the 5 C's. If you haven't seen them, they are character, capacity, capital, collateral, and conditions. But I like to talk to the 6 C's because as a CDFI, as Susan had mentioned, credit sometimes is not the major determinant of a person's character. We do like to see that, bills are paid, and we do credit analysis to see how you handled your debt in the past, which may or may not indicate how you'll handle it in the future. So that's where the 6 C's comes in. So we just pull credit out of character for our presentations. All right, and something else that was brought up in the bankers section. So with character, so what does this mean, right? So I want to be sure that you, the business owner, anybody that has has the ability to make decisions about the company, whether it be operations, whether it be financial, anybody who's making business decisions, we want to make sure that they have industry knowledge. We've heard that a couple times this morning already. And as professionals in the field, if you're here, you do know that we're looking for experience. Sometimes we see that, we have, say, for instance, somebody, maybe a veteran that's retiring and he's looking to purchase a franchise. She's looking to purchase a franchise. And, they may be pulling in a partner that may not have, working with the financial side, but may not have industry knowledge, but has the ability to make business decisions for the franchise. So that's just an example of, okay, well, is this partnership, how does it work? Do you have someone who has industry knowledge, of course, that can help school up the other person, if there's a partnership involved. But the next slide here, so as we think about character, certainly, have resumes prepared for all key stakeholders. We, at CCI, as a CDFI, we generally follow the SBA rule. So anyone who owns more than 20% in the business, we like to have resumes available for that person who's applying for a loan. And of course, if you're putting your resume together, as you're adding that to your business plan, edit your resume to highlight skills and background that directly relate to running a business. So we certainly want to see, especially as the exercise that we worked through this morning, we certainly want to see that you have industry knowledge because, of course, we want to make sure that you succeed. And if you have a little bit of industry knowledge and need a little bit of coaching or mentoring, that's something that as a CDFI will help link you up with the SBDC and the Small Business Center Network in North Carolina, or say like SCORE. SCORE is a retired executive organization that's also supported by the SBA that can help you with coaching and mentorship. But that's also a plus to add to your resume, to add to your business plan, to show us as a lender that you have the skills and the background to run the business. Of course, if you don't have relevant business experience, have a plan in place to address that lack of experience. And again, that may be working with a SCORE counselor, that may be working with your local SBDC, or a business counselor at Small Business Center Network. So again, have a plan to mitigate that lack of experience, whether it be a certification. If you are buying a franchise, there may be like I don't know, first thing that comes to mind, maybe a Chick-fil-A U. Maybe if they, put everybody through a training program before you purchase a franchise. So if you have anything like that, be sure to highlight that in your business plan and on your resume. Now, of course, when it comes to collateral, right? So, as a CDFI, we are a little bit more flexible than a traditional bank with our collateral requirements. Now, it also depends on which CDFI you choose to work with. Some CDFIs have larger portfolios and can take more risk. Some are a little bit smaller and don't have the ability to take on a lot of risk. But one thing is for sure is that we are still looking to see that you have the ability to repay the loan. Because again, as a guarantor, as a small business owner, we don't want to see you fail, and we don't want to see you over leveraged or also do something that may hurt yourself personally and also the business. Again, we want to make sure that you have the ability to, of course, pay back the business loan, but that collateral there is that security for the loan. So whether, again, some CDFIs will require 100% collateralization. Most banks will require that your loan is 100% collateralized. Some CDFIs are a little bit more flexible and, can take some security. You may not have, we do understand that there may be generational wealth gaps. There may be, it may be that, you have an amazing business idea, you have everything in place, you have community support, but you may not have assets available to put down as collateral. So many CDFIs can be a little bit more creative, business equipment, vehicles. We have had a CDFI in North Carolina use household furnishings. So we can be pretty creative sometimes, but that may be all that the business owner has to put up as and use as collateral. So again, it is security for the lender because if something goes wrong, we do want to be able to recoup our losses. But at the same time, do your research if you're planning to, as an entrepreneur, look for a loan to start your business, grow your business, or sustain your business, because everybody's collateral requirements are different. And you want to make sure that you choose the right lender to fit your needs at any particular time. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get distracted. I was just looking at the time. And so one thing, a couple tips, and this will be on the handout that we give everybody towards the end. Make sure that everybody involved, when we were talking about the formation, everybody involved with the partnership with the business, anybody that owns 20% or more in the business, make sure that they are aware of the potential guarantee and the need for collateral. Because we do ask as a CDFI, if it is available, it'd be nice to secure it, right? It'd be nice to use that as a security. So let any potential guarantors know that this is a possibility if you are looking to apply for a loan. And again, if you're planning on using something that can be appraised for value, like personal residence, vehicle, equipment, have a recent appraisal ready. Not everybody has a broker's opinion on their personal residence or potentially a valuation on a piece of property or a vehicle, but there are ways to have a pretty good idea of how much that piece of collateral is worth. So make sure you have a good idea of what that's worth. And understand how lenders are likely to value assets. This is important too. If you are working with a lender that is looking for 100% collateralization, they may, if you say, for instance, if you have a personal residence worth $100,000, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have $100,000 to put down as collateral to secure your loan. So understand how the lender that you're working with, whether it be a CDFI or a traditional bank, how they value that asset. Some folks can discount it at 20%. Some CDFIs can discount a house at 50%, so understand what that discount is when you're looking at collateral to secure the loan. And with the CDFI, personal and business assets can be used. Again, vehicles, homes, we have seen, personal items in a household and furniture, so But again, personal and business assets can be used as collateral. All right, so we'll talk about capital now. Now, capital, pretty straightforward. Of course, that's what everybody needs, right? We need access to capital. We need capital. But, you know, the lender is going to look for some sort of equity that you have to invest in your business. So, you know, having something set aside in your business bank account, if you don't have that available, put a strategy in place to help set aside, funding for your business loan. But really, it's all about planning. And again, this is, you know, something that I like to think about as personal interest or equity. You may have heard another financial term that's used for this type of C, but personal investment is something that we're looking for. It's kind of like, you know, I did ask, of course, this is going to be live. I did ask my son to take out a student loan when he went to college because he's now personally invested in his education. So it's kind of the same concept with, you know, the business too. So make sure that you know what the equity requirements are for your lender. And now CCI, we are an SBA micro lender. We do lend between $5,000 and $50,000, but we also have the Community Advantage Program certification as well. So with the SBA Community Advantage Program, there is a requirement for 10% to be set aside, either already invested in your business within a certain time frame, or in a business bank account, so you have that available to you. So I would generally plan for the 10% rule. And again, if there isn't if you don't have the funds set aside right now, it's never too late to start planning. I have worked with business owners and entrepreneurs in the past that did not have close to 10% of the equity they needed to purchase whatever it was for the business, but we worked on a plan and a strategy over 10 months, and she was able to do it. So, and then of course she was able to get the loan, and she was able to get her rig, which was really cool. So she was a trucker. So, but yeah. So having a strategy in place if you don't have the capital available is key. And it also, you know, when you talk about the synergy between an entrepreneur and a banker, you know, what we're also seeing is your willingness, and we talk about the grit and, you know, the gumption to, you know, to really, you know, take the entrepreneurship to the next level. So here's a couple things. We do have a few minutes, so I may breeze through the last couple slides. But, you know, again, capital is the money from a borrower's perspective. It's the amount that you plan to invest in your business, if you want to think about that. Personal interest or equity. And one thing that I do want to mention before we go to the next slide is if you are a startup, think about secondary income. Many times, you know, I think we had brought that up in one of the banker's business plans, but that could be a retirement, that could be a trust, it could be a full-time job, it could be a part-time job, it could be support that you have at home from a partner. So secondary income is something we will ask for as a CDFI if you are a startup. And a startup can mean anything from 12 to 18 months, you know, as an entrepreneur. So again, that secondary income, we want to make sure that you have the ability to take care of yourself, your person, along with your business in case something goes wrong. Because again, we don't want to see you fail. All right, capacity. So we have just a couple more to finish through. But again, the biggest question that we have is, do you have the ability to pay back the loan? Again, that comes through experience. Many of the business plans that we heard about today, you know, we want to see your ability. Do you have the know-how? Do you have the plan in place to make this happen? You know, do you have the ability to pay back the loan? That's where the taxes come in. That's where we want to look at your personal finances, and that's where we want to look at the business finances too. Because again, we're going to look at a debt service coverage ratio, but we're also going to look at your globals, and that means that's your personal and business ability to service the debt. So capacity, just a couple little tips here. And again, this will also be on the handout. And anybody that's watching live and online, I'll make sure that Jess has a copy of the handout to send to you as well. But create pro formas. That was tough. And cash flow projections and or business plan. Make sure that you have a plan in place to address, again, this is your business. We want to make sure that you succeed. So make sure that you have a plan in place to help guide you. One thing that we want to look for is your financials. We want to look at your taxes. But one thing we also want to see, along with what we've already talked about today, is the seasonality in your industry. Is there any? Do you have a way to mitigate seasonality? If my husband was partner in a concrete company a long time ago, but we had to plan for that November to January, February timeframe because there was no work. And around here, there's not a whole lot of snow to shovel, so that wasn't something that we could do either. So, pay attention to the seasonality of your business and be able to talk that through and work through that with your lender. All right, so conditions. So we had some folks talk about a market analysis. We also had mention of who are your competitors? Do you know who your target market is? This is a big part of your analysis when a lender is looking at a package, especially as a CDFI. We want to make sure that there's a market for your business, number one. Two, we want to make sure that you understand your competition. And three, we want to see that there's a market analysis that's been completed, so you understand, well, as you mentioned, Mr. Ward, do you understand the local economy? And so this is, of course, key to your business. Are you going to open an ice cream shop right next to another ice cream shop? So, that's something that we'll want to look at and may help you think through some conditions as you're applying for a loan. If that's something that you don't see, we may be able to help you with that and help you partner you with somebody who can help you find another location. So, again, this is a big part of the decision-making process from a lender side, but we want to know that you understand the market in your area and, of course, that you understand that, who your target market is. But again, be prepared to describe your competition. Include information about the local, regional economy in your business plan or marketing plan. We saw SWOT analysis. That's a great tool to use. I'm a big fan of the business model Canvas 2. If you haven't seen that, there's a lot of templates online, and there's a lot of business model Canvas classes going on in North Carolina. So if anybody here would like resources on a business model Canvas, please let me know, and I'll link you up with some webinars and folks who are teaching the BMC. And of course, have a clear idea of who your target customers are, who your target market is, and how to reach them. And of course, if a market analysis is tough, if you're not sure what resources to use, of course, your Small Business Development Center is a great resource for the market analysis. And of course, if you're in North Carolina, the Small Business Center Network. And now there are some tools with AI to help you with a market analysis. So that's another tool that I'm learning about as we go along, but there are a ton of resources out there, but just make sure you use it responsibly. And of course, lastly, as we have a few minutes left, credit. That's pretty straightforward. We want to look at indications on how trustworthy you are. Now, again, that's why we pull credit out of character, because just because you have a low credit score does not mean that you aren't trustworthy. That doesn't mean that it's totally indicative of your character. So, but what we do want to see is your credit history. We want to see your repayment history. And again, we want to see that how you pay your bills, because again, how you've handled your debt in the past can indicate how you will handle debt in the future. So one thing I would suggest is know your credit report. You can go to annualcreditreport.com. It's not just the obvious just to make sure that you are okay, make sure you know what's on your credit report, make sure that you know how to explain hiccups, speed bumps, that sort of thing. But also there may be stuff on your credit report that is not yours. So it's a good idea just to keep track of that, because we will be analyzing it, and be prepared to talk with your lender. And it's okay if there are problems. Let us know, because we can work through them if you do have issues. Couple of tools here and resources that may be able to help you if you do need assistance with your credit. Consumer Education Services, Inc., or CESI. They are a nonprofit credit assistance organization that can help you. There's Operation Hope. That's another organization that can help you. I would suggest being wary of folks who claim that if you pay them a certain amount that they will clean up your credit and make it go away. So these are resources that are nonprofit organizations that can help you with strategies to build your credit and or increase that credit score. And lastly, if you have business partners, the 5150, make sure you know their credit report information. Very important. There have been many times where I've worked with entrepreneurs and business owners who are in a partnership. We follow the 20% rule for a guarantor as a loan applicant. And then when we pull credit, we are extremely surprised, and it can cause a rift between the partners, the business, and of course provide a little bit of an awkward situation when it comes to a loan application. So if you have business partners, be sure to discuss credit and know what their credit information is before you apply for a loan. And that's it.